and our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Long live the new Fletch.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble meat pie Rowan.
And this is your rancid meat pie Mike.
And this is your, I don't know, old meat pie Colton? New meat pie? I guess. I don't know, man.
And we are back for another episode. It's like we're just never gonna leave, so get used to us. We're here. It's storming here right now, so I feel like in the background of me talking, you're just gonna hear like a windstorm.
Dude, it's always windy in St. John's. You're not gonna hear shit.
I'm really knocking. I'll make the knocking on wood sound that I don't lose power, because I think like half of my province doesn't have power right now.
Oh shit, really?
It's like, yeah, it's pretty wild out there. Like there's a tree in front of my window. It looks like it maybe could break. I don't know. As long as it doesn't break in my window, I'm okay with that.
Adds a little bit of urgency to the episode, I guess.
That's right. But let's get into what media we have been consuming. What TV shows you've been watching. What movies you've been watching. I don't know. Music, books, anything. What have you been doing? Let's start with you, Colton.
Well, in terms of like reading and what I've been doing is not too much the last couple of weeks. I basically never read anymore. But what I've been watching a bunch of stuff. Rowan and I just watched and reviewed Choose or Die, which
cinematic classic.
I think it made for an interesting discussion for Now Slaying. I don't know if the movie was that great. I wasn't too big of a fan of it, but it is something I watched. I also finished up Severance on Apple TV Plus, which I mentioned last episode. Yeah, I was just going into its finale, and I think it sticks the landing. I think it's a great finale. With one hell of a cliffhanger, so like I'm sitting around, cannot wait for the next season. It was just announced, so I don't know if that'll be out next year or the year after next, but I'm excited. I also rewatched The Batman, which, still excellent in my opinion. And then I also rewatched Annihilation, which is still incredibly overrated in my opinion.
You know what's overrated?
What?
Everything except Annihilation.
Man, Annihilation is like 90% shitty CGI that everyone says, oh my god, it's so beautiful. It just all looks like trash. It's okay. I'm not a big fan.
I don't think you read the book is the problem.
Yeah, that's really the issue.
Dude,
the book
I never read the book. It's part
amazing.
of a trilogy. Yeah, the first book is good. Everyone says the next two suck. Like,
oh no, they're lying.
Why am I going to read the first part of a trilogy?
That's like my favorite trilogy of books of all time.
And you can
really
read it
you like the
without
two?
Reading the other two.
Absolutely loved it. Now I will agree, like the other, like Annihilation is the best book out of the three. But all three of them are, I mean, Vandermeer's a genius. I'll say
brilliant.
I saw Annihilation once and I shut it off halfway through, and then I finally finished it, and I was actually a fan the second time.
I was gonna ask, was it because you're such a big comic book fan, and when Silver Surfer comes in near the end of the movie, was that your favorite part? His cameo there?
I had to let it breathe. The first time I watched it, it really bugged me that there was like a lot of, I was like, this isn't the book. Like, there's nothing.
Yeah, there's a lot of liberties taken with the source material.
Yeah, but I found once I let it kind of do its own thing, like, I don't know, I was into it. That's a movie that someday I feel we'll review. Peter Slaney's been asking for that for 3 years now.
Oh, yes, let's do it for Peter.
Well, I'm sorry,
just to
Peter.
piss Colton off.
I would give it an okay, so just for future episodes when we do review it, this will be here in posterity. It is okay and incredibly overrated. But in reality, what I wanted to talk about was the new A24 movie, written and directed by the filmmaking duo known as Daniels. Everything Everywhere All at Once,
Nice.
which I don't think either of you guys have seen yet, right?
No, because, they're not playing it in my theater.
Oh, that sucks. But yeah, I mean, well, go see it as soon as you can. But the movie kicks ass. I won't spoil anything, obviously, because I am sure a lot of our listeners also haven't seen it yet. But it's hands down one of the most creative movies I've seen in maybe ever. It's completely wild for like 2 hours and 20 minutes. It has some action scenes in it that like rival The Matrix. It's the hardest I've laughed in years at a movie. Like, my friend that I brought to the movie with me was like actually like crying from laughter on multiple occasions, and like he was not the only one. Like, the theater was like so energetic despite being like half empty, as it always is nowadays. And then like 20 minutes after, where you're almost like on the verge of tears laughing, you're on the verge of tears because of just like an emotional beat. It's one of those movies. It just works on every single level. When the credits were rolling, we just kind of like sat there like stunned at the end of the movie. And then one of the first things was just like, there is no way in hell like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in like a month's time will like rival this at all, and how like crazy, over the top, and creative it is. It's just like, I don't know. I'm going to be sitting through Doctor Strange next month just like, you guys don't have a universe that's full of, I don't know, paper mache people or whatever, whatever universe you want to point to. It's just so endlessly creative. When you see like, 100 different versions of Michelle Yeoh, it's just, they're stretching their legs. And I love the Daniels. I love all their short films. I think Swiss Army Man is excellent, despite a lot of people just calling it a farting corpse movie. So, maybe I'm the demographic, but I mean, this one's getting a lot of love. So I think everyone and everywhere should go see the movie. It's great. I loved it.
Yeah, I gotta see it
all at once, one might say.
I wish everyone was going to see it all at once, because then, these guys would definitely get a bigger budget to just make their big, weird, absurd movies that, they're just making movies with friends that they went to film school with. Like, their visual effects team was like 5 people plus the directors, right? Like, it has like 600 visual effects shot, and it's just like a passion project, and you can kind of feel it the entire time. I found I really loved it. So yeah, that's basically all I've been watching. I have some other stuff, but it's not really worth mentioning. So what about you, Mike? What have you been watching, or what have you been consuming?
I actually watched several movies since the last recording. I'll have you know.
Oh, shit.
Now, 2 of them were rewatches, but I was showing them to other people. I'm spreading the love of good movies to other people. I'm getting people who are like, I like to watch horror movies, and I'm like, have you seen this really good recent one? And they're like, no. And I was like, okay, we're watching it. So I showed a couple of my friends. We got high and drank one night, and I showed them Malignant, which they absolutely like lost their minds over, and it was so much fun. As I said when we were recording on it, I really wanted to watch it again with other people while having a drink, and that's what I did, and it honestly was the most fun movie experience I've had in probably so far this year. Because of that, they loved it. We were talking about it for days afterwards. So that was fun, and I also showed one of my friends the Slumber Party Massacre remake, because he's never seen any of them, and I was like, you would appreciate it more if you saw the other movies, but I was like, you don't need to, and he just really enjoyed it as like a funny like slasher movie. And I finally, not in the venue that I wanted to see it, but got to see X.
Oh, okay. So did you not see it in theaters? Or?
So I didn't see it in theaters.
Oh, it did?
No.
Okay.
But
so you didn't sit in the theater like a creep all by yourself watching like half of a porno like I did?
Yeah, no. A friend of mine, actually funny because we're on Discord right now, messaged me in Discord and said, yo, have you seen X yet? Because he knows I love horror movies, because sometimes when we watch them on Discord, he'll pop in. And I'm like, not yet. And he goes, good, I'm getting it on iTunes right now. Meet me in 5 minutes. I was like, fuck yes. So it was unexpected. I was not expecting the other night to watch X, but I saw it and I really love it.
That's awesome.
What about you, Ro?
Bring out the list. We'll be here for another half hour as Rowan reads off everything.
My list is actually pretty short. I haven't watched like a lot of movies. So like Colton said, we watched Choose or Die. Under Colton's advice and a friend of mine's advice, I watched The Mummy for the first time, Brendan Fraser. And
the OG?
I don't know if that was under my advice, but I was like, yeah, it's a good pick. Yeah, I liked that as a kid.
You said it was You said it was good.
Okay, Colton, like this man requires any fucking nudging at all. You said it was okay. That's him going, you need to fucking watch it. Like, you know this.
Yeah, like, it was one of my first horror movies. Like, I loved it when I was, like, 8 or whatever, how old I was.
Well, yeah, so I wasn't a fan of it. I mean, I like Brendan Fraser, but I was like, this movie fucking
What
sucks.
about Rachel Weisz? How dare you?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It was just way too long. It was a long.
Did you watch the second one?
No,
that's like they make it like more of a comedy, and it's oh my god, it's funny.
Just the completist in me, like I'll watch the rest of them, but
third one's
completist
garbage.
in you is gonna go out and fucking buy this Blu-ray box set.
I don't know.
I'm surprised you don't.
I might skip.
I was gonna say I'm surprised you don't already own the Tom Cruise The Mummy, that absolute like trash of a movie.
No, I haven't. I'll have to watch it at some point. I feel that one I'll have to watch for free. I'm not.
Yeah, no, don't support that.
Not supporting that. Then. Me and X, the other week, I think last week or something, we went down, visited my parents. So, of course, whenever I'm down, we watch at least one horror movie with Mom. So she picked, and we watched Sinister, which is always fun. I love Sinister. And she had never seen it, so it's kind of fun to watch with someone that had never seen it. And, like...
Oh, for sure.
She has a perfect, like... place for horror movies, so they don't have any neighbors. They like basically built like a house on the edge of a lake. Like it's like people build cottages, but they built a house, so you're like isolated in the woods. There's no traffic, like we're in the woods, and then so it's pitch black. You turn all the lights off, and it's just a good time. Yeah, no, it was fun. She screamed really hard at the end of Sinister, like the really just it's coming jump scare, and that was always fun. I was like, how do you jump at the shittiest jump scare in this movie? But and then I rewatched, of course, Place Beyond the Pines, just cause, I had to look at sweaty, tattooed Ryan Gosling.
I was gonna say, you're fucking Gosling.
Yeah,
fetish.
Obviously. And I rewatched New Jersey Drive, which is like a favorite of mine from a kid. It was one that I always rented, so I hadn't seen that. Like, I probably haven't watched that in like 10 years. It came out on DVD, but it's like one that's never been on Blu-ray, still isn't on Blu-ray. Kind of I think it's kind of forgotten. It's one of these like 90s hood movies. It's directed by this guy, I think his name's Nick Gomez, but it's put out by Spike Lee's company. Yeah, I think it was kind of forgotten because I think the director's like a random white guy, so it's kind of weird.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know. Spike Lee gave it the seal of approval, so, which, if you look up, if you're in the movies like that, it's considered like one of the great gems. And then, the last two I watched Scream with X last night. She hadn't seen it, the new one, and she seemed to thoroughly enjoy it. She thought it was great, funny, witty. And then, of course, I had to watch Drop Dead Fred. I got my Vinegar Syndrome Drop Dead Fred in. I like New Jersey Drive, another one that would be on the top 5 list of most seen movies by me. I owned it on VHS. I watched it repeatedly. Rotten Tomatoes, harsh. I think it has like a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes. But, I think re-examined in nowadays lens, people kind of see how brilliant it was. It's kind of like this weird mix of kids and adult movie dealing with like trauma and anxiety and depression. In a time where movies weren't really dealing with that kind of stuff.
And made it like slapstick. Like, it's just... It's demented.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in the best possible way, yeah.
It's amazing. And I'm not going to talk about... I watched Ultimatum on Netflix. I won't get into it.
Oh, my God.
Mike's watching it now.
I hate you both so much.
Exilius got me watching
so
it.
much.
I watched it all at work in like one night, and yeah.
I said to them, I was like, what is this nonsense? When they were like, both, you have to watch it. And I'm like, okay, hang on now. And then I just put it on for like 5 minutes, and I was like, I literally hate myself 5 minutes in, and yet I'm going to keep it on.
Man, Rowan, you watched 5 minutes of La La Land and turned it off because it was garbage. And you watched, what, 10 hours of Ultimatum?
That is true.
What the fuck, man?
You've got two extremes of like the same garbage there. You've got white nonsense and hetero nonsense.
Man, we're going to start a fight on this episode, I think.
Yeah, I'm not proud of it. Like I said, I won't get into it, but it was just pure trash. Exili's like, you got to watch this. Everybody's drunk. Everybody's just fucking everybody, and it was exactly as promised. Fantastic. But yeah, so I mean, I think that's a good scope of how much trash people me and Mike are. Colton a little more respectable for the movie-loving listeners.
For this week, yeah.
He's not on Ultimatum yet. I saw him write it down as I mentioned it. He was getting it queued up on Netflix.
Taking notes. Yeah, I'm taking notes.
Copious notes.
So I think it's time to get into the film, get into the trailer. Colton's pick this week, Sweeney Todd. Oh, La La Land is gonna come up, I'm sure. Sweeney Todd.
It's coming up.
The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, 2007. Well, that was what, like 2 years? I had been graduated for 2 years when this came out. I'm feeling old, guys. So let's get into the trailer, and we'll be back with the bio.
Once there was a time when a man ruled without mercy.
Where's my wife?
She's gone. And he's got your daughter.
These are desperate times, and desperate measures are called for.
This Christmas, Sweeney is coming, and justice will be served.
How about a shave?
Johnny Depp, in a film by Tim Burton. Sweeney Todd, rated R.
Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, was directed by Tim Burton and written by John Logan, Hugh Wheeler, and Christopher Bond, and the story is as follows. After serving 15 years for a crime he did not commit, Benjamin Barker, now known as Sweeney Todd, returns to London vowing vengeance upon Judge Turpin, the man who was not only falsely imprisoned him, but who is also believed to have raped and indirectly caused the death of Sweeney's wife, Lucy. Bolstered by a sinister partnership with one Mrs. Lovett, Sweeney resumes his trade as a barber, slitting the throats of numerous unlucky customers and disposing of their bodies by way of Mrs. Lovett's meat pies. In the end, Sweeney destroys everything and everyone he's ever cared for, with his own neck being his straight razor's final victim.
First experiences. Is this your first time watching it, or have you sung these songs for years? Colton, it was your pick. We'll start with you.
So I'm not going to say I've seen this like dozens of times or anything, but where you were saying that you were a couple years graduated from high school when this came out, I think I was in like grade 8 or 9. And it was hit perfectly at my emo phase. So this was like right around where I was dating my scene girlfriend. I can't remember if she was a big fan of Tim Burton or if it was like our friend group was.
I'm sure
I can't remember if I can't remember if I lied and said that I really liked this movie and didn't at the time, or if I was the one that, you know, kind of got her to watch it. I can't remember who recommended it. But anyways, we definitely watched it at like, a sleepover on like a Friday night or having some friends over. And that was the first time I've seen it. And I remember getting a poster and putting it on my wall. And it hung on my wall for, I don't know, man, like all the way through high school, back to like even like my first or second university.
Did you put it next to your My Chemical Romance poster?
No, I hated MCR actually. So I was one of those people that like, I liked the harder stuff, so I hated MCR because they didn't like scream or anything. So I was a big hater of MCR, a little bit like too much of a hater. But no, it was probably next to my like, God, what loser posters that I had. There was like a Chuck Norris fax poster that I had, and that was pretty bad.
Red flag, and red flag. Republican.
And it was just a series of jokes. It wasn't actually Chuck Norris facts. It was just I grew up in Labrador and our poster selection was like very limited. I think I also had like a Smileys poster. Like a lot of guys had these posters full of like different smiley faces, like emojis almost. It was like when MSN Messenger was around, kind of like it was just different versions of the smiles. And also Aragon, the Christopher Paolini movie. I was just a big fan of the book, so I had the movie poster on my wall, which is that's the biggest red flag, because that means I have absolute garbage taste in movies, because that movie sucks. But
yeah, but Sienna Aguirre, who played Jill in the Resident Evil movies, was in it, so it kind of gets a pass for me.
Oh, so it gets a pass, all right. But no,
all it requires is one.
Yeah, but that was the first time I watched it. I've seen it a number of times over the years, like so much so that I definitely know most of the songs. Like I can like half-heartedly sing along to most of them. The last time I've probably seen it was probably close to 6 or 7 years ago, I'd say now. But yeah, no, I've seen it before for sure. What about you, Mike? I feel like I was torturing you this week. So how many times have you seen Sweeney Todd?
This was my first time.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Absolutely my first. I mean, like, it was always on my radar, because I'm like, it's kind of classic, like, Sondheim horror musical. Like, it's, Angela Lansbury did it once, and I was like, I really want to see this, and Helena Bonham Carter's in it, and I love her, but I just was like, nah, Johnny Depp, and I sort of, like, was not in that place when it came out, so I didn't go see it, and then I've never been in that place since, and really, the only reason I watched it is because I had to. So, I mean, I don't know when I'll watch it again, maybe, but this was definitely my first time. For sure, the first time. Ro, do you have a, like, long and storied history with this movie as well?
So, I was trying to think really hard. I think I've only seen this once. Like, I remember I owned the DVD of it. Like, I threw out the DVD, like, a couple of months ago, because I knew we were going to be doing it, so I went and bought, like, the Blu-ray was cheap. It was like, $5 or $6. So I bought the Blu-ray, but I think when it came out, I probably saw this. Like, I was always a big Tim Burton fan. I feel like this is around the era that Burton kind of lost me, and I didn't really care anymore.
Yeah, it's probably one of his last good movies, in my opinion. But
yeah, but as I watched this, like, it was kind of like watching it for the first time, because I didn't really remember anything from it. I didn't remember any of the music. Really, I didn't remember most of the scenes. So I'm also starting to think that maybe I was only like half watching it when I saw it or something.
Okay.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe I was like, I don't know, making out or something. I just had it on in the background. It's one of those films. I don't know.
So romantic.
So romantic.
Dude, I probably was too, considering the time frame.
Yeah, that's true. Having your little, like, first makeout sessions.
Emo makeout sessions and when I was 13, 14, whatever it was.
In front of your Chuck Norris posters.
Fuck you.
You're gonna regret ever telling us that, I'm telling you right now.
Well, let's get into the meat pies of it all.
Oh, no, divorce.
You know where we're going to start? Our favorite kill and favorite scene. Mike, we'll start with you.
Okay, honestly, my favorite scene... No, it's not a kill, because it's too early. My favorite scene is literally when Johnny Depp comes into Helena Bonham Carter's shop the first time, and she's like doing her worst pies in London song and dance and killing all the bugs, and I just thought it was so funny because I was like, this is like Nailed It before Nailed It was a thing. I don't know why, but I just thought of Helena Bonham Carter on Nailed It, and that just sort of like totally made that scene so much better for me. So I just thought it was funny, and I honestly will say that was, to me, one of the most charming aspects of that movie was her little pie shop, and I thought that was a really cute scene. So not even anything like scary or gross or, dark. It's like, I mean, I guess it is dark because, it's, rancid, bug-filled meat pies, but, I don't know, there was something very charming and like, nailed it about it. So I'm just like picturing her like, in her British accent, like, nailed it. I'm not going to try to do it, but yeah. And I thought it was honestly adorable. So I know it's the bizarre choice, but I wasn't the biggest fan of this movie, so that was something to cling on to. What about you guys? What do you think? Come on, lay it on me. I want to know. I need you to convince me. Tell me your favorite scenes now and like sell me on this.
Well, I'm not going to convince you because you're such a Sweeney Todd hater, but my favorite scene is, it also doesn't involve a kill, but it almost involves a kill, and it's when Judge Turpin gets away from Sweeney. So it's just like, God, what's his name? Anthony comes in and kind of interrupts it and mentions that, Joanna is going to be meeting him tonight. And, Judge Turpin freaks out and kind of like storms away. And then Sweeney like launches into this like song called Epiphany, where basically he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna slaughter everybody until I can get to you, and it's just this really dramatic, over the top song where he's like storming through the streets and like slashing at people with his straight razor and whatnot. I've always liked that song, and I think like it's probably one of the better songs in the movie, especially like for like Johnny Depp's like range, because he's not always the best singer in the movie, but he's just also kind of like, he's supposed to be kind of like morose and dour and whatnot. Yeah. And this actually allows him to kind of like sing at a couple of points. Yeah, it's probably my favorite scene and, you know, favorite song in the musical, I would say. What about you, Rowan?
Yeah.
No, not you too.
I did like and I don't say this in, you know, a Mike and Exilia shade way, I did like the ending scene, like where Sweeney Todd, you know, kind of meets his death from the kid, and you kind of get like the whole scene of him over Lucy, like realizing it's Lucy, and then like bleeding out on Lucy. Like, I did like just the look of it, the aesthetic of it. Like I said, I didn't remember anything about this movie. Now, I'm not gonna say I didn't read that one from like the first, you know, 2 minutes we see like this crazy woman that I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely her.
Damn it, I never knew as a kid. I was always so surprised. No, I was gonna ask if you guys knew or not.
See, I feel like if I was like young, like when you saw this, like how young you were, like I feel like I may not have picked up on that.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, a little older, a little more critical of movies. I was just like, yeah, this is definitely like, you know, there's no reason this crazy woman's just here for no reason. Like,
so I agree, but the reason why she kind of like always got overlooked for me, or like on a first viewing, is because she's the one who kind of gives the exposition to Anthony about the girl in the window. So she kind of serves a purpose for that scene, and then it's like, okay, yeah, she had speaking lines, so, you know, sure, she's in the background for most of the movie. Obviously, when she, like, dawdles up the stairs into Sweeney Todd's shop and stuff, you know, there must be something else on the go. But up until that movie, I was, like, just as, like, a little side character, she kind of, like, served her purpose. That she kind of flew
like
under the radar
for me,
or I guess.
Something.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to say I would have figured it out because I'm a grown-ass adult and I've seen 80 million movies in my life. But right when she showed up, so when Joanna is in the window, I was like, this looks like somebody shrunk down Christina Ricci, because like I was like, literally, did they shrink her down digitally? Because I thought it was her, because, you know, like she has a history with Tim Burton. I was like, that is not, like, they didn't like de-age Christina Ricci, did they? So I literally immediately opened up IMDb, and like the first thing I saw was that actress had dual roles, and one of them was like homeless lady or whatever, and I was like, okay, well, clearly it's her. So it was ruined for me right from the get-go. So I want to think that I would have figured it out, but I don't know, because I immediately had it ruined, so that chance got taken away from me. So never look at IMDb, y'all. Never look at IMDb.
Just don't do it until you're done the movie. But yeah, no, like I did really like that scene, and like I thought they did a pretty good job of like dealing with that emotional weight. Like I said, like I thought it was really beautiful, and like the blood kind of like pouring all over, then pouring out, and like so we kind of get that image of it going against the floor and like assuming into the drain, and you know, all that kind of stuff. And then I kind of, as always, I like to cheat. My other favorite scene was just the cameo appearance of Anthony Stewart Head. I was like, oh fuck yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know who it is. Who was he?
So he was an uncredited cameo. He randomly comes up to Sweeney Todd after the competition or whatever, and like just compliments him on being an awesome barber.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, obviously, you know, as a giant fan of Repo, and you know, a child that was around for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I loved the cameo.
Repo, just like the superior horror movie.
Well, and I was kind of sad, because then once I started looking into it, Anthony Stewart Head was supposed to be in the fucking movie the whole time.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, Tim Burton, you failed at this. Apparently he was supposed to be like the narrator of the film, and then they were like, nah, we don't want a narrator. So
he could have easily played Sweeney Todd and not done a bad David Bowie impression.
Well, and Anthony Stewart Head is also, like, as we learned from Repo, like an incredible singer. Now,
excellent singer, yeah.
I mean, give it, like, he has, you know, like a Broadway music musical background, so, you know, he a little more seasoned to that than Depp. But yeah, I thought, you know.
Yes, why take the actor who knows how to sing when you have
Johnny
Depp?
You know.
So is this Anthony Head? Is he
overrated.
the lead in Repo? I haven't seen Repo, and I also haven't seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so I had to Google who he was.
Oh, so in Repo, he plays the main character. He plays the Repo Man.
Okay, it's just interesting because that movie is like rated half as well as Sweeney Todd, despite both you guys thinking it's much better. So I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well,
on every site and every metric, so you can't just defer to Rotten Tomatoes. So
one of these movies has both Paris Hilton and Sarah Brightman in it, and the other one doesn't. So that's all I'm saying about.
Yeah, well, Paris Hilton isn't a pro to me in any movie, I don't think so.
Paris Hilton did one of the greatest songs of the 2000s, Stars Are Blind. So let's not forget that. When has Johnny Depp put out one of the best songs of any decade? Literally never. Literally never.
I mean, you are right.
See, I know. You can't deny that.
I mean, he hasn't put out a song, but I mean, he's, I don't know, he's led billion-dollar franchises, I suppose, which doesn't always denote that you're a good actor, or it's certainly not a good person, but I don't know, more influential in popular culture, probably.
Then Paris Hilton. I don't know about that.
The movies, like, he literally probably has like a box office draw of like probably like 3 or 4 billion. Like, I don't know.
True.
Probably
but he doesn't have a catchphrase that everybody in every decade knows.
Paris Hilton has been like irrelevant since 2005, and it's just because you guys are like 5 years older than me that you care about her at all.
You have not seen her new Netflix series, clearly.
The most like relevant Paris Hilton's been in like 2 decades is that like her house is the one that's robbed in the bling ring. That's like literally how relevant she is.
This is gonna be the breakup.
She has guest starred on several episodes of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She is.
I'm not even trying to say.
She is horror legend. Asterisk. Kyle Richards' niece. Okay. She is part of the family.
Anyways, I'm definitely going to say Johnny Depp is more influential or was involved in more things. I mean, he hasn't had, a great song, but I think he sings quite a few great songs in this movie. So maybe not a Billboard Top 100 songs, but, you know.
I'm just roasting you. Clearly, Johnny Depp is a superior artist, even if I don't care for him anymore, but... Sorry, Ro, what were you saying? We're getting off on a tangent here now because of me, as usual.
We're getting all riled up already. We haven't even got to the La La Land discussion, man.
Oh, right?
Yeah. This is the divorce episode, just saying.
So I was just curious, in terms of music, like what you guys thought, like overall for the film, in terms of like the songs, the score. I'm just like interested, like as someone like you, Colton, that obviously really fondly thinks of, you know, this film and likes this film, as someone for Mike who might be the first time seeing it, and, you know, like me who didn't remember anything for it. I'm just very interested on your thoughts on everything to do with music in this.
Yeah, I mean, I love the music in this. I mean, obviously, there's no shock there, but I think it's very interesting. It's not like normal Broadway musicals, like you said. It's like horror tinged. It uses weird, like almost like off-beat like notes. I don't know how to describe it, but like high pinches. It's almost like jarring at times, like some of the notes it chooses to use, like a lot of like minors. I feel like it, I also love how it like constantly like reprises a lot of the different songs. Like they'll come back and now they mean something different, or they're sung by a different character. So it's just like, even lyrically, it's just like, oh, they have a deeper meaning now. I mean, you know, I like all that. I think the one bad song in the movie is By the Sea, because I just really don't like that whole like dream sequence. You know, you get them in some funny Tim Burton outfits, but I don't know. It's a weird song, and I know like most of it is just in her head, but still, it's, you know, that's the one kind of like false note I would say in the track list to me. I love Sacha Baron Cohen's song. It's so funny. Like, oh
that was a close second for my favorite scene. That was
dude.
The 2 scenes that I had were those. I will give you that. I think that casting was actually unexpected and brilliant.
Yeah,
that was a shining
really
moment of this movie. Yeah,
and that's the thing too. It's like, you didn't like it?
I didn't like it.
I thought thought you of all people would have loved that part.
I love Sacha Baron Cohen, and I was like, I didn't know, I didn't remember he was in this movie, so I was super excited, and I just, you know what it is? It's because, this is where it's gonna come in. This is, me and Colton had the discussion. I had to shut La La Land off. I generally don't like musicals. So I was trying really hard to be like, I'm giving this movie a chance. Like, it's horror. I usually do like a horror themed musical. Tim Burton, just in general, his style is very, fantastical and goth and stuff like this. And I just thought Sacha Baron, kind of brought me out. I was like, this is way too silly. I don't know how to describe it. I wasn't a fan. I was just like, it gave me a tone in the movie that I didn't necessarily want. I would have preferred it to just be a much serious movie, and I thought he was just way too silly. But I could also, I feel like it's also kind of ruined just by, I have 15 years of Sacha Baron Cohen in my mind watching this, so it's like, watching it now, it's really hard to separate him from, Borat or Ali G, so I'm just kind of like, this is just even when whether or not, the accents and stuff, his accent is supposed to be funny or not.
It is, yeah. He's definitely supposed to be comedic relief / comedic character.
And I was just kind of like, fuck, I don't know. It just kind of brought me out of it a bit.
Yeah, I guess it's just up to this point, I haven't found the movie to be, deathly serious. This is a movie, when I'm watching it, a lot of the lines, a lot of the lyrics in the songs are, silly. I don't know, Have a Little Priest is, such a clever song, lyrically, all the different double entendres and metaphors and whatnot when they're in the pie shop picking out all the different people that they'd like to turn into pies, right? It's super clever. And that's kind of as Mike was saying with the worst pies in London as well, obviously she's crunching all the cockroaches, he's eating the pies and whatnot. It's just I find the movie is inherently a little silly anyways, and it's because the reality is completely heightened. Obviously the CGI in the movie looks like absolute trash, but it winds up being just kind of well, the whole world is heightened where there's one real stage in this shot anyways, that it's just kind of it just all works for me. It kind of smooths over the bumps. And Pirelli, when he comes out, I just find it so hilarious. I have a dumb smile on my face the entire time he's singing. And then the casual child abuse, which is a terrible thing to say, but in the scene is kind of funny. When he's sharpening the blade and it keeps hitting, Toby.
But the kid's been hit by that, right? He knows. He's like, fuck.
And then he kicks him into the little hut at the end and stuff. And obviously since I know it's just Sacha Baron Cohen, it's, I don't know. I think it's really funny, but yeah, for me,
I find him very charismatic and charming in this movie.
Yeah.
Which is the whole point, because he's supposed to be that, traveling, snake oil salesman, right?
Of course. Yeah. He's supposed to be charismatic. He's supposed to draw a big crowd. And obviously I think his whole persona definitely does that. But what about you, Mike? What about the music? Was there anything you liked? You mentioned Sondheim, so obviously you're familiar with the guy somewhat. So
Yeah. Okay, so here's and this is perhaps about to discount everything that I have to say about this movie, and if it does, so be it, which is probably one of the reasons why I'm going to rewatch it. But the copy of this movie that I had, the music itself, and when I say music, I don't mean the lyrics, the vocals, I mean the instruments, were very, 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 very loud. And the dialogue and the singing was very, 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 very low. So I was having a very hard time picking out a lot of the lyrics. And I couldn't get the subtitles to work. So I actually know that I missed a lot of the lyrics. So I know that my, not being super fond of this movie right now is compromised because of that. But I do love, I loved that scene. The Pirelli scene, and I loved the worst pies in London scene. Mm-hmm. And honestly, near the end, some of the songs were kind of really good too. It's not the music was actually kind of fun, and I think Sondheim is brilliant, and doesn't get kind of enough popular culture adaptations. So it is nice that Tim Burton made an adaptation of this. I think it's kind of cool. I think it's probably the best part of the movie, to be honest.
I can concur. I think there was a mixing issue in terms of somewhere when they put this on home video. So like I said, I had the Blu-ray, so I started watching this last night. So I had my TV at an appropriate level because I didn't start watching it until like 3 a.m. I'm like, I'm not going to wake my neighbors up with bad Johnny Depp singing. But I had to stop because I was like, I can't really hear anything they're saying.
And then the music blasts.
I can hear the music. So I was like, I'll watch it in the day. That's fine. So like, I put it on today. I had it up really loud because I'm like, it's the daytime, whatever. I still had to turn the subtitles on. And it wasn't for everybody. I think it was also just depending on voices over music. I just think that music at times was a little overbearing, usually when they're not singing. I just found I was missing lines when they would take that break and they might have a couple sentences where they're just talking.
Whispering. Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know. Like, I feel this is a big budget enough that, in the theater, I can't see this had an issue. Probably didn't have an issue. I'm just wondering if there was some issue once it went to, like, DVD, Blu-ray, that maybe it just, because like I said, like, there's no Criterion collection for Sweeney Todd. Like, it's just a run-of-the-mill Blu-ray. So they just, I'm sure it's just like a video transfer over. So
I will agree with you guys both there. I watched like a pirated copy because now that I say that, I think I do have it on Blu-ray. But anyways, I definitely downloaded it, and I had to watch it on absolute max. So I watched it on like 100 out of 100 on my TV.
Yeah.
And I know most of the lyrics in the song. Like I said, I can kind of sing along with most of it, so I didn't have too much of an issue. But there were like a couple of lines of whispering, like when people are like kind of angry whispering is what I'll say. When they kind of mutter something to themselves, I'm like, okay, I caught most of that, but I missed some of it. So a first-time watcher, like for sure, you'd probably miss some stuff.
Yeah, that was my problem. Like I mean, obviously, as we have established, I came into this with a bad attitude about it to begin with, so I admit that. But yeah, the sound mixing issue really hampered my like enjoyment of it because I just couldn't figure it out. And again, I was like Ro, but I was watching it later in the day, and I have new neighbors, so I didn't really want to like blast them out. I didn't want that to be like, the beginning of our relationship. So
you didn't want the beginning of your relationship to be them thinking that you like to watch Sweeney Todd.
I mean, if there's gonna be any musical, it's gonna be Cabaret, not Sweeney Todd. If I'm gonna blast them out with anything, it's gonna be that. It's gonna be me screaming along to "Maybe This Time," right? So yeah.
So it's been kind of mentioned. Are you guys generally fans of musicals? Like, because I know you're both big fans of music, right? And I wouldn't call myself a big fan of music. I have like garbage taste. I literally listen to like metalcore because that's what I was brought up on, right? I don't listen to like anything outside of like screaming with emo vocals. That's what I was always brought up on. So I have trash taste. Most people just say I listen to like obnoxious shit, right? I was also like the dubstep guy in university, right? I don't listen to that anymore, but just not good taste. But I would say like over the last like 10 years or so, I've been more and more a musicals guy. Like I have watched a lot of musicals now, and obviously, as mentioned numerous times now, like La La Land's one of my favorites of, probably favorites of all time, probably my top like 10 or 25 for sure. So I'm just wondering, are you guys generally a fan of like filmed musicals or like, movie musicals?
No. No.
No.
And actually, I really shouldn't say that, because I mean, like, when me and Colton, had the discussion when I was like, La La Land sucks. I will say this. I do plan on, the vinyl, oh my goodness. Listen, I do plan on, I will make it through La La Land. I will sit down. I was watching it at work, like, that's not the right environment to watch a musical, because
you're really killing your own vibe.
I'm watching it on an iPad, like with my headphones on. Like I'll watch it on the TV at home, but generally no, I'm not. I usually like alternative musicals, like usually horror based,
like Repo,
Repo. Like I said, me and Colton had a conversation. Like, to me, like Repo, Rocky Horror, Shock Treatment, Little Shop of Horrors is like probably, one of my all-time. I have that on vinyl. I love that.
Phantom of the Paradise.
I haven't seen that. I know.
God.
I really want to.
I think I've seen
Goddamn.
that. Yeah, I'll double check, but I think I've seen that one.
But like Hedwig, stuff like that, like usually kind of the off-Broadway stuff I really like. I don't like traditional, like I don't know how to describe it. I always just call it like traditional musical music. I don't, I'm like...
You're not a show tunes person. That's what you're saying right now. You're not a show tunes
I'm not a show tunes person, which was one of my big issues with this was lyric-wise, like you said, Colton, I actually really liked all the lyric stuff. Like, their songs are really well written, which was actually a very positive thing for me, like, having the subtitles on, because as a music guy, like...
Yeah, you can appreciate it, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm usually more of a lyrics guy than I am, like, a music guy. So I did appreciate that. But I was like, none of these songs are gonna go on my playlist. Like, I don't remember any of the songs really already. But I did like the score. The undertones of the score that would, play, that obviously are there as the base of a lot of the songs. Mm-hmm. But like you said, like those minor tones, there was kind of one, like, song that throughout the whole film is kind of the underbass for all
I know which
of
one
the
you're
songs.
talking about. Yeah, it has like some bells and stuff in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I was like, I would listen to that score, no problem. But the music, it was a little too show-timey for me. I just...
It's funny because I don't really look at this musical as like show tunesy. Like, when Mike mentions Cabaret, which I don't like, that's like what I point at as like music. That's like the Showtimesy musicals that I don't like, right? And growing up, I think like a lot of musicals, or I guess this was probably in the second year of university. Like when I watched like Les Mis, right? Like I watched it, I hated it, because it's just literally, it's one of those musicals where they sing everything they're doing all the time. And granted, this one's pretty close to it, but it does have dialogue in between the songs. But there are ones that are literally like, I am walking down the stairs, like I am making supper, it's like monotony. Like the entire movie is singing no matter what. Those ones drive me crazy, but thankfully I think they've kind of fallen out of vogue a little bit, because like something like A La La Land, for example, that probably has 5 or 6 songs in it. And in my opinion, I love La La Land, but they're not nearly as good as these songs. So it's like there's 5 or 6 songs in a 2-hour movie. It's like, is that even a musical at that point? Or is it just like a drama with a couple musical performances?
Didn't write La La Land. Maybe if he did, I would have liked it more.
Oh yeah.
Honestly.
I mean,
yeah.
Listen, the guys who wrote La La Land also wrote The Greatest Showman, which I'm not a big fan of. So I mean, not all of their stuff hits for me.
That's fair.
Yeah,
no,
it's
and
the
I mean,
Damien
listen,
Chazelle factor there.
the ones that I like
Moulin Rouge.
I'm not the biggest. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not the biggest musical fan. I love Moulin Rouge. I love it.
What the fuck? That's just a jukebox musical. They don't even sing anything original. That movie sucks. It's so bad.
Girl.
Baz Luhrmann just like glitz and glamour all over the screen with absolute garbage. I watched that with a friend of mine within the last year.
Hello, Kylie Minogue as the Green Fairy, like Nicole
it doesn't matter
Kidman, Ewan
who is.
McGregor,
Doesn't matter if Paris Hilton's the Green Fairy. It's still shit. I that's one of the few movies in the last couple of years I almost turned off, and I never do it. I'm not a Rowan that I'll turn something off 5 minutes in. I never turn anything off. I watched this with a friend of mine who's a huge fan of musicals, and she was like, "Do you want to just turn this off?" After like an hour into Moulin Rouge. I hate that movie. That sucks. I think I gave it a 1 star. So yeah, maybe we're on polar opposites.
Well, I also don't trust you, because Cabaret is not just one of the greatest musicals of all time. It's one of the greatest movies of all time, and you just said you didn't like that. So
I'm gonna double check. I'm pretty sure I've seen Cabaret, but
I've never seen Cabaret.
I can't imagine you saying I don't like Cabaret, then following it by I hate movies where they sing musicals and show tunes about every move they make, when Cabaret has literally 4 songs in it, and it's about like,
okay. So I haven't seen Cabaret. I was like,
there's no way you've seen Cabaret.
I might have it mistaken with another older musical. Just give me a second.
Because it is not show tunesy. It is fucking Liza Minnelli belting out like 6 really good songs, and Nazis taking over Germany and decadence and
I have it mixed up with the chorus
sexual
line.
awakenings. We're going to watch it one day.
Yeah, I have it mixed up with the chorus line, I think, which is like another.
Oh my god,
musical.
no, that's not even, I like, because I like the ones that are, like, have a bit of edge and are about, like, darker things. Like, that's one of the reasons why I love Cabaret. It was one of the first musicals I think I ever saw that, like, I loved. Because, you know, it's about, like, Germany and, like, Nazi Germany. And, you know, then I have, like, All That Jazz is one that I like. And, I mean, I love Chicago. Chicago's kind of more of a contemporary classic. But, you know, come on, that's about, like, murder. And, we're going to get divorced over that one. Because Chicago is a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, I know. It has a lot of hype. I'm not a big fan of Chicago. I've only seen it once.
But, you know, anyway, I like a lot of the ones that, and Repo and Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah, no, you seem to like a lot of musicals.
Anything that's kind of, like, weird and dark or awkward or...
Can you get any darker than eating people in pies, though? I don't. That's pretty dark.
This is a pretty dark movie, yeah.
I know.
But I get it.
Okay, so here's the thing. If I had watched another adaptation of this, I probably would have liked it more.
I'd be very...
That's all I'm going to say.
I would be very interested to see, like, the actual stage play, I think.
I think this would be brilliant as, like, a really good, well done, well directed, like, fully, like, expensively staged, like, theater show.
I wonder how it would work, though, just because, like, the stuff like the montages where he's, like, killing multiple people, right? Like, the way when he kind of has that, I don't know, it's almost like when he's building his chair, it's almost like a Marvel hero movie moment where he's, like, building his chair and, you know, the trap door and all that. Like, on stage,
I mean,
like,
it was originally a stage show, right? So
I know, but on stage, like, clearly what they do is he probably kills one person in the stage, and then the next time we cut, it's when, you know, what is his name? Toby is like welcoming everyone back in, like, ladies and gentlemen. It's probably just literally like 1 or 2 kills in the chair, and then just we cut ahead, and then they're profitable, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I've heard stage adaptations of it, but I haven't. You know, I've never seen it. I don't know.
Some of my other issues with it was, so this is like, I also didn't realize till I turned it on that this was actually like rated R, and it taught me that I just think Tim Burton needs to stay clear of rated R. Because I was like, this could have been bloodier. I think it could have been a little edgier in terms of that. And I don't know. Tim Burton's style, to me, I don't like his style in this form. I don't like his style trying to do, like, an adult movie. He's got that niche, like, he's got his, you know, weird Edward Scissorhands, Nightmare Before Christmas, like, he's got his aesthetic, his Batman, but, like, I just think he lends better to aiming at that, like, PG area, more so than rated R, because I thought about, like, you know, what would, like, someone that isn't Tim Burton, like, do with this if they were gonna make a musical? I feel like maybe it would have some aspects, like, it'd be a little edgier. They'd really lean into, like, being this adult musical about, you know, people eating people and a barber killing, where I feel like a lot of this stuff, like, yeah, we get him killing the people in the montage, but, like, I mean, really, like, the body count isn't as crazy as you'd think in this movie. Like, in terms of, like, actual gruesome death, I see the same death, like, 10 times, and then that's it. It's just, like, you know, throat slit, like, I'd like to see, like, some different things.
But that's kind of like the source material too, though, right? Like, that's all he does. He's just a barber who he has them in a compromising situation where he can cut their throats. I think you get, like, one. I think he bludgeons Sacha Baron Cohen. And,
yeah.
I don't know. I guess Judge Turpin, he kind of stabs it into him instead of, you know, slitting his throat. But it's
and that's where I kind of thought, like, and that's where, like, I don't overly hold it against the movie, because I know Burton wanted to stay pretty as true as he could to the play, just because I know when I was reading about it, like, he said this was, like, one of the most influential things he ever, like, watched in his college years. So I get that, but then I was like, I wonder if, like, there had been, like, a little bit of liberties taken by someone that was like, all right, like, let's really push this into like super extreme. Like I think I'd be curious to see how that goes.
I just don't know how it would really work with the music that's already there. You're not going to write like new Sondheim songs to fit like decapitations or disembowelings or stuff, right? Like I don't know. Yeah. I think like we get quite a few shots of people slipping down that chute and their neck snapping upside down and just like, you know, blood spurting out when their neck snaps and hits the ground and stuff. I don't know. I thought there was a lot of blood, and there's a good probably dozen kills or so in this movie, which is a dozen more than most other musicals. So
I get kind of where you're both coming from, because I do feel like it was bloodier than every other pretty much musical I've ever seen, but also it was Tim Burton bloody, which is really not very bloody at all.
Very, very right? Saturated red bloody.
It's very unrealistic. It's the sort of thing that you do so that it wasn't like a hard R, you know what I mean? Like you could probably get away with it like 14 or whatever.
Yeah, well, and I was gonna say too, I don't want to like just rag on it. I know Colton,
you sure? Because
well, and I know, Colton, you said, like, the CG not looking great, but, like, I really liked the look of, like, whenever we see the city and the town, like, because to me, it was so true Burton aesthetic. I was like, I feel like I'm in Batman. I feel like it had a real comic book, like, 80s comic book vibe to it that I was, like, really into. And I thought, was something I really enjoy, which I think is, a lot of the reason most people enjoy Tim Burton. Like, he has a very particular aesthetic, and he pulls that off, very well. I think, this kind of time period definitely, giving me that Sleepy Hollow vibe.
Yeah, I think that was
I think that's why I kept hallucinating that I was seeing Christina Ricci everywhere. In a blonde wig, like.
I mean, I like Sleepy Hollow last time I saw it, so
yeah.
I
haven't seen it for years either, but
yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember being a big fan of Sleepy Hollow also.
Okay, see, so this was it's the top of the mountain of several of my issues with this movie was that I kept thinking back to Sleepy Hollow and how much I loved that, and how then by the time I think Tim Burton reached this, and this was my problem with this, and has been my problem with him pretty much ever since this actually, was that I feel like he was more performing Tim Burton than directing movies. Like, I feel like at this point he was performing the Tim Burton aesthetic, and, there are better versions of this, i.e. like Sleepy Hollow and shit. And that is sort of why I didn't really, like, latch onto it, because I was just watching it, and to me it was like Tim Burton doing a pastiche of Tim Burton. And part of that is Tim Burton constantly jacking off on his favorite people, i.e. Johnny Depp, who, as I've said several times tonight, drives me absolutely nuts now. So that is my problem right there, is that I kept thinking back, like, Sleepy Hollow, oh my god, this did the, like, goth thing, and the aesthetic of this, like you were saying about the CGI, didn't do it for me. And I felt like I was Tim Burton performing a CGI'd version of Tim Burton, and that just, I could not, it was too slippery for me. I couldn't, like, hook into it, you know what I mean? And it kept escaping me. I kept trying to, like, hold on to something, and it was just too slippery and too slick and too, like, oh, look at me, I'm lubed up Tim Burton, doing Tim Burton. Does that make sense? I don't know how else
I get what you're saying.
In a way,
it was like him doing a slick version of himself.
But then I also kind of say a lot of people like Corpse Bride, and that came out like a year or two before this, right? Like maybe not for people your age, I'm not sure. Like when I watched Corpse Bride, that was like everybody in my school loved Corpse Bride. It was like our version of Nightmare Before Christmas, but then the emo kids would always say Nightmare Before Christmas is better.
Yeah, and that's
right?
the thing. I was perhaps too old to sort of like really, but you know what? And in a way, I'm not holding it against anybody, because I feel like maybe to me it was Tim Burton like regurgitating himself in a lesser manner, but like maybe there's a lot of people who this was like their gateway, and not this particular movie, but that era, like Corpse Bride.
Yeah,
you know,
but they
that...
were watching the stuff around those years. Then this came.
Yeah,
out. Like,
exactly, and that was getting them
Christmas.
into it,
Yeah.
and then they were going back and watching the Beetlejuices and the
Yes,
Nightmare Before Christmases and the Batmans and all that. And I get that, and I appreciate that. So, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like totally slagging off on it and saying it's awful. I'm just saying, personally, for me, I was already over it at that point because I'm an old. So
yeah,
you know,
it's been too long since I've seen Sleepy Hollow, so I can't do the 1-to-1 comparison. Obviously, they're both like Victorian Gothic era. It's just for this one, it's so heightened and so stylized to me, and obviously that's part of it being a musical as well. That it's just they are different in my head, and maybe it's just because I know this
musical,
one.
Right?
Yeah. Maybe it's just I know this one much better. Like I know this one in my bones, as opposed to Sleepy Hollow. I probably watched in like grade 8 once. That it's just like this one just feels different to me, I guess, and it's probably just literally the musical aspect because like you said, Tim Burton uses the same faces in a lot of his movies. I mean, Helena Bonham Carter's and everything as well. That's his wife, right? Is it his wife?
I don't know if they're still together, but she definitely was
at some
for
point.
a very long
but yeah,
time.
she's in like so much of his stuff, and I love her. But it is just like very much. It gets hard to kind of differentiate certain movies when they're using the same.
I need to say too, because you know me, I'm always like very clearly from what I've been saying tonight. I was like the draw on this for me was like Helena Bonham Carter, and that was it. And I can't stand Johnny Depp. I normally I'm not about the men. I always want like the woman is the draw, but even I've loved Helena Bonham Carter my entire life. Like when I was a youngster, I used to see her like old like period pieces that she kind of like made her name on originally, like many decades ago. Like I'd see them on TV because I'd stay up all night watching movies I wasn't supposed to be watching. So I ended up watching a lot of like cool like literary adaptations and stuff. So I like always loved her, but even by this point, I was even sick of seeing her in every fucking Tim Burton movie. I was sick of seeing Johnny Depp in every Tim Burton movie, and I was sick of seeing her in every Tim Burton movie. And while she gets more of a pass because she's a woman and I love her, it's even her presence in this movie kind of like was just,
man, I love Mrs. Lovett.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
like it's
I
such
get what
a great
you're saying.
character.
I disagree,
it's a great
but I get what you're
character, but
saying.
I was just, I feel like it was just a little bit of exhaustion with the Tim Burton-ness of it all. And like I get having really when you look at it, there's like so many like dozens and dozens of like directors who have their like stable of people that they work with.
Yeah,
but,
Del Toro does it. Basically, every single
but I just feel like the Tim
Burton
Burton movies, it's like everybody seems to be playing the same character. You know, it's not like it's, a Del Toro movie. Where like every movie is
Tim Burton movies, you just have to have like a blank emo face and act emo, and that's all you really have to do.
And that's not necessarily a drag, but like, it's, to me, I think it was just Burton stable exhaustion that was mostly my problem with this.
Yeah, for me, like even like the blank emo face thing, I do agree. Like obviously there was a lot more of it around at that time, but it's kind of like, I don't know, I don't like modern Tim Burton, but he's still kind of adhering to that. I mean, he's probably the only guy really doing that now. Like, I don't know who else is doing emo movies in 2022 or, the late 2010s, right?
And I will say, like, I tried to think, and I couldn't really think of anybody. Like, I really didn't mind Johnny Depp in this. Like I said, like, this is getting into the era where I was Johnny Depped out, really, of anything. I mean, he was pretty much, this is going into the era of Johnny Depp just, how many Pirates of the Caribbean can we do? Like, all this kind of stuff. But then I tried to think, I was like, well, who else in this role would I like to see? And I really couldn't think of anyone. I think, I was like, this is the look you want. This is, I thought he did a good job in it.
I think it's just you guys looking back at it in retrospect, because this came out the same year as Pirates of the Caribbean 3, not like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And it was like, he was huge in Pirates of the Caribbean 3. Like, half the movie's about rescuing and bringing him back. Like, people still loved Johnny Depp at this point when this movie came out. And, like, obviously, I was one of those kids. I hated
all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, so...
Bro, we can't get into that either, but, I mean, I think some of those are great, but obviously not 4, 5, and 6, or however many there are now.
Yeah.
But the initial trilogy I like a lot. But like, that was, like... he was huge, like, for the Pirates movies. Like, you guys know that. Like, Jack Sparrow, like I said, is incredibly iconic, and he's been mimicking that in every single role he's done since. Like, this wasn't like, it didn't come out in like 2010 or something when, like, what is it, like what is that name of that movie he did? Dark Shadows or something. It like didn't come out during Dark Shadows time, or like Rango or something. Like, you know, it came out, you know, it was very popular at the time.
I mean, I'll be honest, like, I haven't been a huge Johnny Depp fan since probably The Lone Ranger, so I'm just kidding.
Okay, I was like, that's certainly after this. But that's what I'm pointing to. Like, discount Jack Sparrow is like he's always playing like, I'm kind of a little tipsy, I'm kind of a little drunk, I'm a little kooky. Like, that's all of his roles ever since, right? Other than this, he's a little bit more grounded in this, even though it's a musical. So he got to be silly and say like, "Alas, my arm is complete" and shit. You know, you got to give these funny lines that I crack up at. But he's he's not Jack Sparrow in this, I guess.
So this is my other question, and I feel like I'm gonna lose a whole base of people here. So I also wonder if it didn't hit right for me. And no, I can't use age out as an excuse because everyone I know my age loves them. But so I was not a Harry Potter kid. I don't like Harry Potter. I tried to watch them.
I never was, and now I feel justified.
Like, I tried to watch the movies.
So you're preaching to the choir. I was brought up Christian. Harry Potter is literally like the devil, even though I did watch them when they come out. But no, I'm not a Harry Potter kid either.
I also wonder, like, so the Alan Rickman part, like, because I feel like for, you know, the billions of these Harry Potter fanatics, like, Alan Rickman is like a god to these people. So I wonder, like I don't even know, like, was Harry Potter around at this time? Or
yeah, I mean, Potter was pretty popular at this point. They probably had 5 movies.
I feel like it was the early 2000s. So exactly.
Deathly Hallows came out this year. Actually, the book did. 2007, I think, is Deathly Hallows, the last book, right? So
yeah.
So the movies were out though.
Like 4 or 5 of them were out.
Okay,
at this
so
point in time. Yeah,
because that was like the other thing I wondered. Like, and I don't hate Alan Rickman, but I mean, like, obviously,
he's wonderful. He's also one of the saving graces of this movie for me.
And like, you know, obviously, I'm probably not as familiar as like Harry Potter people. Like, to me, I always think of, like, you know, Die Hard or Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like,
are you not going to say Galaxy Quest?
I have never seen Galaxy Quest. I know.
Alan Rickman and Sigourney Weaver. Okay, we're not talking about the Republican in that movie because he's an awful piece of shit. But Alan Rickman and Sigourney Weaver, yes.
Well, I think Timothy Spall is also like a Harry Potter alum, but like I don't see people going to see this movie because Alan Rickman's in it. Like, people like Snape. Like, I don't like, it'd be different if Daniel Radcliffe and Hermione Granger, Emma Watson were the stars of this movie, but like I don't know if the Potterheads were that hardcore that they'd go just because Alan Rickman was in this movie, right? I feel like the Die Hard people would be more so because they'd actually like know who he is and know his name and whatnot. They just like Snape, I think.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know anything about these Harry Potter people, so I don't know how Rickman is held in their eyes.
I was gonna mention that was another movie that I've been watching, and it was trash. The newest Fantastic Beasts. So, absolute garbage. Anyways.
I didn't know till like a week ago that it had anything to do with Harry Potter. I was like, I saw the trailer, I'm like, this just kind of looks like a ripoff of Harry Potter, doesn't it? And then
that movie is like doubly troublesome now because obviously J.K. Rowling is a fucking I hate
fucking
her.
Turf, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then now it also stars Ezra Miller.
Throw out there, we do not support TERFs.
No, we do not. And Ezra Miller in the movie is also like a shit show right now. Like, what's on the go with there? He's been, or they've been arrested like multiple times now in Hawaii for just being a terrible person. So that movie sucked.
Okay, can we just like take 1 second and say, what is it about filming in Hawaii that makes actors lose their minds and go off the rockers? Because I'm thinking like, okay, and this is, I know it's happened multiple times in different like TV shows and movies that have filmed there, but like I'm thinking of like, for example, years ago when Lost was like a big thing.
That's what I was going to reference.
They filmed that in Hawaii, and like half the fucking cast of Lost got like arrested for like drunk driving and like all this other shit down there and getting into fights, and like I'm just like, why do people go to Hawaii and just think that they're like outside of the law and that they can just do whatever? Like, I don't understand. It's like the Bermuda Triangle for actors.
I was going to say, it's like more rural than most of the actors would kind of be used to, I would suppose. Like, I've never been to Hawaii. I just got like literally the movie view of Hawaii. So if it's not a bunch of like little tropical islands with small villages, then I apologize. But in my head, like when they're filming, it's probably in more so remote areas, and you just feel like you can do whatever, right? Like, it's probably just like an ego thing. It's probably just how small towns around the bay in Newfoundland and whatnot.
And they're all the time, big actors, and that's true.
But I have no clue. What do we think, Rowan? Is that making the final cut or what? You got to keep Hawaii in.
Of course, Hawaii's got to be in. Hawaii's in.
Hawaii.
But anyways, I don't know if the Potter draw was a huge draw to this movie for the one or two actors, but I mean, I don't think you were getting the Potter bump with this one.
Yeah, okay. Now I know. Like I said, I don't, other than our close friend Angie, I try to stay clear of these Potterheads.
Angie always gets a pass.
But I don't need Potterheads in my life. So, like, I'm curious. So as someone, that Colton, like, obviously, I think we now know you really enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
I'm curious about kind of like the legacy of it. Like, are people generally, like, I don't know anyone that has ever talked about this movie other than you. So
when Sondheim passed away, there was a couple of different podcasts that did kind of like tributes to him and discussed it, like if they were tangentially related to musicals. So there's been a couple of podcasts that they just cover musicals from time to time. And when they did like the tribute episodes to Sondheim, like there was a good portion of the people that like said like Sweeney Todd is like low key their favorite Sondheim. So I mean, it's more of like kind of like the black sheep, I think. Like it's not like the popular pick, but it's almost like the cool pick if you're gonna pick a Sondheim musical.
Yeah, because it's really an outlier in like in terms of tone of his like whole storied gigantic career, right?
Yeah,
he's not known as like the horror musical guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of like the legacy, like I'm not overly familiar with Sondheim or his musical, so it's like, for me, it's kind of just one of those Tim Burton movies. It came out at the right time, right when I was going through my emo phase with my black hair and, wearing my skinny jeans or my, checkered belts and shit. So it's just like, it's more of like an aesthetic choice. Like there's certain movies from the mid 2000s when I watch them, I go like, oh, this was when like being an emo kid or being seen was a thing. Right. And like this was like almost like peak that area. Like a lot of the music and stuff comes from like 2005, 2006. So this was hitting at like right at the perfect level of when me in Labrador, when I was hitting up there. Right. It takes a couple of years to get up there for everything on trend. Right. So, I mean,
so this makes you feel like how I feel when I watch the OC.
I mean, I watched the OC when it came out and I actually really like the OC as well. But I mean, I was probably a little bit too young for watching the OC, probably. I just thought it was like cool, right?
I mean, it is. That's
you thought it was cool because of the music.
I don't think so.
The coolest
was
music
it Ryan?
At the time.
Ryan and Marissa? I don't know.
Ryan
I don't know
and
if that's the
Marissa.
character names. Yeah, I used to think that. I think Ryan was a badass and Marissa was really hot, and I think that was kind of what I watched the show for. So. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
A Mushy Barton fan. Oh, I mean, we love Mushy Barton, but like.
Dude, I was like 12 when I watched that shit. I don't know. I probably had no critic at all in me at that point in time. But yeah, it's like a nostalgic watch for me. Like it hits at like whenever I was probably literally 13 when I watched this, right? Like I said, it was right around where I was getting interested in girls and dating and emo and just, it was just, this hit at just the right time. And it was funny, like I said, I was surprised with how much I remembered because I've seen this movie probably 5 or 6 times since it came out, but it's been years since I last watched it, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like you won't agree with my next statement is...
All right.
I thought it was a little long. I may have checked a couple times where I'm like, how much longer of this is there?
So what I will say is I think the first hour is a complete banger. Like the entire time, like I'm completely on board. And I find a lot of musicals have this issue. I find like Act 2 is oftentimes lesser than Act 1 until you get right to the end.
I'm going to agree with you, yeah.
So it's usually you hit a little slump. You hit a little slump in the basically almost every musical, and then it picks up at the end, so like you leave on a high. And I will agree, like I said, like the middle part of Act 2 is where you got like the By the Sea songs, and right, and you're kind of waiting for the big finale. So I will agree that it is a little long. I was like, this is a masterpiece. I love this for the first hour, and then I was probably like, okay, slowing down a little bit for the next 10-15 minutes, and I probably had about 5 minutes where I was bored. Kind of like, I don't need this by the sea bit, or like, there's a couple of scenes here that are not hitting quite as hard for me, but I mean, little, I would literally basically be like, shave off by the sea /5 minutes, and I'd be fine, probably, because you can have a lull. It can't always be like rising action / a banger after banger, but
The only other issues I had, which like once I read like more about it, kind of made sense, was like, so the stuff about his daughter and what was the sailor's name? I can't think of what his name was.
Anthony, I think.
Yeah, Anthony. I had felt when I was watching, I'm like, man, this is like super underdeveloped. Like, I just didn't really see the need for it at all, because I'm like, you're not exploring it whatsoever. So
it's like musical logic. It's like people look at each other and sing to each other and fall in love. Like, I feel like that's, I mean, it's underdeveloped for a movie, but as a movie musical, it's like, that's like what you get most of the time.
Yeah, well, and I thought, I don't know, I thought they should have just cut it, because like, I know once I'd read about it, Tim Burton said like in the musical, that's like, basically that's like the story. That is the, it's like that love, that romance is like a major storyline, but he was like, oh, I wouldn't work.
I didn't get that, no. Yeah, in the movie, it's definitely more Sweeney and Mrs. Lovett than Anthony and, Joanna.
So Burton said they had to cut it down for the film, and like...
Yeah, every time I saw that, I was like, why is this in the movie?
Well, and I just felt as much as he... I felt as much as he cut it down, I was like, I would have just cut it out. Like, really, the only purpose in the movie is like, the daughter get like... So eventually the daughter gets to Sweeney Todd, like...
And, like, but here's the thing, like, okay, so this is adaptation, which means, you could take your liberties, and that's fine. But I feel like when you have a musical, and it's, 3.5 hours long, but, you have your intermission. You get up, you stretch your legs, you go get your drink, you go, pee, do whatever, go smoke another joint to get through the rest of the musical, depending on how bad it is. And it's like, you don't need to, if it's an adaptation, you can cut out as much as you want, especially if you're Tim fucking Burton. And at this point, you literally have carte blanche to do probably whatever you want and have whatever budget you want. Like,
yeah,
just cut
I almost
out.
wish they went the other way, if that's the case, because like I said, I never knew about that. But if the main story of the musical is supposed to be the love story between Joanna and Anthony, then it's kind of like, I wish they just added 20 minutes so that was fleshed out rather than...
or cut it out
down,
entirely, like kind of one extreme to the other.
It's just I feel like if people knew the Broadway show and were going to this to see like the romance adapted, it's like you want the romance to still be in there. So it's almost like I wish it was just given, whatever it's given on the Broadway show, because like you said, most Broadway shows are 2.5, 3 hours, right? So you could, with creative editing and no intermission and stuff, you should be able to get that down to like 2:20 or something, right? Like
exactly.
I don't know.
I guess I'm trying to think. I remember when I went to see Rent, the movie, in theaters, and like, oh my god, I was like, girls, this is like 3 hours long, and there's no intermission. Like, I'm just like sitting here going. My high was wore off by the end of it. I was like, I'm sitting here watching Rent in theaters sober by myself on a Tuesday afternoon. What is wrong with me?
So as someone, Colton, that definitely really enjoys this, I'm curious, like, where does this stand, like, in your rating of Tim Burton? Like, is this like a top 5 movie, a top 3 movie?
Well, I'm going to have to like reveal my like Tim Burton. I have a lot of holes in my Tim Burton, filmography. Like,
can I ask you where the holes are?
I haven't seen Beetlejuice, which is a pretty big hole.
To me, the skeleton key of his aesthetic.
Yeah, so I've seen Batman, but I haven't seen Batman Returns, I've seen basically everything after... Well, no, I haven't seen Ed Wood either. I don't know. So for me, yes, this would rank high. I'm missing a lot of, like, key Tim Burton movies. I've seen basically everything in the mid-2000s, which is garbage, and then I've seen, like, Planet of the Apes, which is also garbage, and, I've seen Sleepy Hollow, I've seen, Nightmare Before Christmas and whatnot. So I'm missing some key examples there. So yeah, this would rank pretty highly for me.
Yeah, and it's funny because you said you were missing Beetlejuice, which, going back to what Ro was saying earlier about his aesthetic, and it being like having a bit of a like cartoonish feel usually.
Oh yeah.
And like to me, Beetlejuice is the perfect, like to me it's the like rubric against which I like judge all of his other films aesthetically, because it's got the like dark gothic feel, but it's also got that like really campy, colorful injection of like humor into it. Like to me that's sort of, it's the perfect synthesis of all of his like aesthetic strains in one film, and it's just like one of like a perfect movie to me.
It's absolutely perfect. So have we said everything we want to say about the Demon Barber? I feel like Colton probably has like 800 notes.
Not really. I took notes, and then after probably about 20 to 30 minutes I kind of just got sucked up in it, right? So I was missing like 5 to 10 minutes at a time, and just my notes like after basically the Sacha Baron Cohen section kind of just completely fall off to like mentioning the chair, or saying like, oh, the ending is still hits perfectly, or oh, the priest song is so clever, right? It's just I just that's it. I got like 20 notes max.
You had the volume up full blast. You were belting out as loud as you could.
Of course, yeah. Mumbling along because I know about 70% of the lyrics, but not enough to sing it confidently,
Well, if that's the case, let's land the plane and get into rating this sucker. So if you are new to the program, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Mike, first-time viewer, we need to know, what do you think about Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street?
Okay, so clearly, it wasn't my favorite movie, but honestly, even though I said this was when Tim Burton started to slide into self-parody, he was not fully there yet. Like, I think of a few years after this, the Alice in Wonderland movie, which when I was like 13 years old and watching Beetlejuice every 5 fucking minutes, said to me, Tim Burton is going to do an Alice in Wonderland movie, I would have been on cloud 9. And I was. And then I went to see this Alice in Wonderland movie and was like, this is garbage, because it's literally just Tim Burton, like, jacking off over himself. Like, he doesn't even give a fuck. So this was the beginning of that slide. So it's not as bad as it could be. But I feel like, this was, like I said, Tim Burton doing pastiche of Tim Burton. I did not care for the aesthetic, and I understand where it was coming from, because it was going for the like Industrial Revolution aesthetic, which is like ash everywhere and dirt and just black and white, and really the only splashes of color are red, of course, with the blood and everything, and like blonde hair, because blonde hair is very important to the multiple characters. But like, having grown up with that like aesthetic, like we were saying, of your Batmans and your Beetlejuices and all that, and I just was very disappointed with it. I felt like it was too just boring, pallid CGI, and just too much Johnny Depp.
Oh man.
But of course, I'm going to say there were parts of it that I really enjoyed. I loved Sacha Baron Cohen, and I loved that final kind of dance they did in the end of the movie in the basement where he threw Helena Bonham Carter in the fucking boiler. Like, honestly, I was like, I actually gasped. So I will say, I don't gasp very often. I gasped at that. I was not expecting that, which was excellent. But to me, it was just too much of too many elements that were kind of tired to me. And again, this is just to me personally. I look at it and I understand how everybody would love this, but I was just so sick of the Tim Burton-ness of it, and I was so sick of Johnny Depp and him being in every Tim Burton movie, and I was honestly so sick of Helena Bonham Carter being in every Tim Burton movie. And then I found out that Angela Lansbury did this, and I was like, why isn't she in this? Because she's phenomenal. So I'm going to give it an okay. I understand that for a lot of people, this is like a really big draw, and I do not hold that against them. But personally, I couldn't chew on as much of it as I would have liked to. So that's where I'm landing on that. What do you guys think? What do you think, Ro?
Like you, I mean, obviously, I've had a lot of negative things to say about it, and obviously it's pretty hard to win me over if you're a musical in general. As much as a slog I thought it was to get through this time, I can't say it was necessarily like, a terrible time. There were redeeming factors in it. Like I said, I like that undercurrent score in it. I thought Johnny Depp was pretty good. Like, this is, you know, I like I said before, I couldn't see anyone else that would be able to do this role as effective as he did. And, you know, I thought some of the sets were really nice. And even, like, some of the shitty CG just, like I said, I enjoy because it threw me back to, like, 80s, early 90s, like, comic booky type feel, which, you know, I just have a nostalgia for and love. Yeah, so I'm probably going to agree with Mike. Like, I'm going to give it an okay. Be on a lookout for my letterbox. I'll give it a Mike review of great movie, 1 star.
Excuse me, my letterboxed aesthetic is great movie, 2.5 stars.
2.5 stars.
How dare you? Ask Colton.
The best
he calls
action
me out.
movie of all time. 2
Colton
stars.
always calls me out on it. I will get a comment or a text saying, or a tweet saying, "Cool, I can't wait to see your 2-star review of this movie."
Someone has to keep you in line, Mike.
No, it's true, and I'm glad it's you.
So, Colton, what do you think?
So obviously, this is a slay for me. It's one of those movies where, as I was watching it, I couldn't point to too much stuff that I didn't like. Like, opening notes are like, CGI for the opening credits sucks. And it does. I wish it was practical. I wish we were following, like,
that
the blood
horrible
through, like,
blood stain. Oof.
Yeah, it's bad. Like, it is bad.
Yeah.
I have, like, oh my god, there's too much film grain. But it kind of, it tapers off after a while. It's really abrasive for the first, like, 5-10 minutes, and then it tapers off. There's the one song.
That is the worst part of the bad CGI.
Yeah, and, and I'm not a fan of that one song. I get why it's in there to kind of, like, change up the visual aesthetic, show off some costumes, make it a little bit more, like, playful, like as if they were actually going to fall in love and kind of leave this behind. But I'm just not a fan of the song. So that's like one other small nitpick for me. And like I said, I do agree with Rowan. I think there is a point in the movie where it drags for maybe like 5 minutes. But that's the thing, like all these things is not enough to kind of override and like make me drop it to like a yay or a high yay, because I've given too many movies a high yay and I've given too many movies like a great on Letterboxd, like a 4 out of 5, and I feel like, in my opinion, this would probably be like a 4.5 out of 5. So I have to give it a slay. It gets the bump. Maybe it's just the nostalgia bump, as Rowan's mentioned on other podcasts. For me, like it gets a little bit of a bump for me, and yeah, no, I don't really have any issues with it. I still love the music. At the time when I watched this, I hated musicals other than Disney musicals, right? So this was probably literally like a gateway drug to musicals at all for me, right?
Yeah.
So,
I respect that. That's, like I said, to me, that's Cabaret. Cabaret was my entry into musicals. So as soon as you said, I didn't like Cabaret, that's why I fucking threw my pen across the room. And I was like, fuck you, we're going to fight, Colton.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen Cabaret, like I said.
Yeah,
so
no.
I will watch Cabaret.
I totally respect that. I respect everything about that, and yeah.
So yes, it's a slay for me, and yeah, looking at the other Tim Burton movies, I don't know. I haven't seen Big Fish since it came out. I loved Big Fish as a kid, so I don't know. Maybe Big Fish would be a slay as well. I have no clue. I haven't seen that in 20 years. So yeah, I mean, based on what I have logged here on Letterboxd, I'd say this probably would be my favorite. So
nice.
That's pretty wild. Yeah.
Well, we told you what we thought, so we asked you, what do you think of this film? We only had one person write in, but thankfully for Colton, he's evened out the numbers.
Oh, perfect.
We had a podcast on Elm Street write in, and they said, top tier horror musical, soundtrack is unmatched.
Thank you, podcast on Elm Street. Someone around here. Head on their shoulders.
Also, I want to say it again. Love the name of that podcast. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a podcast about like fishing, and as long as you have Elm Street in the name, Mike will like it. He'll love it.
Fuck you.
Yeah, and if you like what we do around here, be sure to follow us on our socials at It Slays Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Slasher. Letterboxd, I don't know. Rowan's kind of messing around with the Letterboxd a little bit. Maybe I'll get the login and start doing some stuff on there as well.
I mean, I'm not doing anything crazy.
Yeah, y'all don't want me on Letterboxd.
All I've done is now you can see what we watched, and I have links to the episodes in our description.
All right, well, still follow us on Letterboxd.
Yeah,
maybe we'll
do
follow
it.
you back.
I mean, obviously do
yeah.
it.
Also follow our individual Letterboxds, because they're good.
Yeah,
they're
so
really good.
I'm at I think either CJE Simpson or XCJES. Just Google Colton Simpson. I'll come up. I'm sure I'm the only one on there. What about you, Mike, on Letterboxd?
I am at Jacobean Tragedy, as I am on everything. Also, Colton's Letterboxd is excellent. So yeah.
I'm like very, very particular about my Letterboxd. So yeah, if you just like nerding out or reading people's like negative takes, because I pretty much only post negative reviews now, pretty much. But yeah, I love Letterboxd. That's by far my favorite social media.
Yeah, I kept saying for months that I was going to get back into it because I made my account like 2 years ago and just
ages ago. Yeah,
yeah. And I'm really finding it is a good place to do like a 1-sentence deranged take on something and then to walk away from it.
Yeah.
And to give it
What's funny is a lot of those
podcast I get an hour and a half to be deranged. The Letterboxd, it's like just one sentence.
What I was gonna say, your snarky
aesthetic.
takes, like those are more likely to get like some traction as well, right? If someone finds it funny and it's short, like I used to do the 1,000-word reviews, and I tell you what, if you got one like on it, it felt like winning a gold medal, right? I just wanted to print it out and show my mom.
That means you got through to somebody, right? Like your piece of critique got through to somebody.
Yeah, and you can follow me. Mine's same as all my stuff. It's Biggie Halls. I post pretty regularly. I try to.
Yeah, you actually review most of what you.
Yeah,
watch
I usually
or at least put 1 or 2 sentences. Yeah,
I try to do
Although,
at least
can
1
I
or
call
2
you out about
sentences.
something
Sure.
on the podcast?
Of course.
I'm gonna call you out because I was gonna text you about this, but I'd rather everybody hear it.
Oh no.
So I love to call you out about the fact that when you post a review and I get very excited to read it, and then it says, check out our episode. And I'm like, I already listened to it. I want to see your Letterboxd review of it.
He stole that from me because I used
did.
to like put a blurb of my thoughts, and then I'd say, listen to the whole discussion here.
Yeah.
But Rowan doesn't even put a blurb of his
He
thoughts.
doesn't
He just
put
says, listen to our
anything. I'm like, I want to know your I want to have a capsule. Give me a capsule summary of your thoughts and then say, go read it somewhere else. Rowan, put down your thoughts challenge.
My thoughts are free as long as you download the episode. That's. But I'll also plug the It Slays podcast horrific playlist on Spotify. We are always adding music from what we review on there. I might have to let Colton pick something from this, because if I had it my way, we'd be blocking it.
Blocking Sweeney Todd.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the only last thing we have to do is announce our upcoming film. What are we doing next? And it is back to me. I had totally forgot till we started the episode. It was my turn again. And boy, has Exilia never been happier not to be on the podcast, because we're doing something old and black and white, and
man.
her 2 biggest pet peeves. So I have chosen a film that I don't know, does it make me a bad horror person that I've never seen it? But I'm picking...
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm picking 1931's Bela Lugosi's Dracula. I guess it's Bram Stoker's Dracula, really, but starring Bela Lugosi. And yeah, I own the Universal collection. I have most of them on Blu-ray. So I have the whatever it is, 8 or 10 film collection of his Dracula, and I've never even opened it. I've only ever watched Frankenstein, and that's the only...
I've seen that too. Yeah. And Bride of Frankenstein, I think.
Yeah, and I've never even seen that. And that's the only old Universal stuff I've, ever seen. But I thought, I was like, we've never done something that old. And
it's about time, honestly.
It'd be interesting to go back and kind of see where some of these, some of our favorite, monsters and horror come from originally on the screen. So, that'll be the episode. Tune in for that, and then I think you're getting an extra treat, because this will be coming out you'll be hearing this on Sunday, and then Saturday you're gonna get an episode on the Northman.
So hyped, man. I know it's not horror, but I can't wait.
Also, can we just say it's gonna be too late by the time this comes out, but happy 420 Eve to everybody who celebrates.
As we record it, yeah.
As we record, it's 4:20 tomorrow, so happy holidays to y'all.
So I think that is everything for this evening. I am your humble host, Rowan.
Bye, it's Mike.
And I'm Sweeney Simpson.
See you later.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Mom with the new fletch.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.